we've got to remember is to identify and to persuade. But we don't bring people who are really diehards and we know full well are not going to change their minds. I hope therefore that although this film will amuse you in some part, you'll take full note of it, because we don't want to waste our time, and the hours of voluntary work put in on foot must be to identify where our Labour supporters are and to be ready for them to knock them up on polling day and get out our vote.
No one can be sure what the issues will be in the next general election, and canvassing for local elections involves different issues in different places. So this film concentrates on the experiences of a group of canvassers who worked in the last general election. These four people wanted the Labour Party to win the last general election. This is Ken. He's a draftsman from Sheffield. This is Timothy. He's a solicitor from Cheam, but his heart's in the right place. This is Anne. She's from London, and she's a teacher. This is Ian. He's from Glasgow, and he's a welder. Not only did they want Labour to win, they were prepared to do something about it. So they went along to their local party headquarters. Ken and Anne and Ian were welcomed warmly and made to feel at home. Timothy went to his local party and met a man who said to him,
"Do you want to help the Labour Party, do you?"
Yes.
Are you a member?
No, not yet.
Oh, it's wonderful, isn't it?
Beg your pardon?
You come in here with your fancy clothes and your fancy accent and offer to help the Labour Party. Look, I was in the Labour Party before you were born. I remember General Strike. Aye, and General March. I know what suffering is. My family, all 56 of us, used to live in tiny house near Pitt. Aye, well, it wasn't so much an house, it was more of an hut, and it were miles from Pitt. In fact, all 9 of us used to live in a disused cardboard box in the middle of the swamp. We used to get up to go to work at 2 in the morning, eat a handful of gravel, then we'd work 28-hour day at Pitt for 2pence a month, come home, and Dad would send us to sleep with a kick in the head. Aye. My Dad fought with Wat Tyler at Battle of Trafalgar. Aye. Aye. Our Dad wouldn't have a Tory in the house unless he owed him money. Aye. You and your fancy language coming in here, I don't... Oh, he's gone.
So then there were 3. But they'd been made really welcome and given some pamphlets to help them persuade people to vote Labour. And of course they'd been given canvas cards to identify voters as for Labour, against Labour and doubtful. So that on election day we could encourage Labour supporters to come to the poll and cast their votes. But Ian was so keen to start that he didn't want to waste time reading the pamphlets.
Hello, I'm canvassing on behalf of the Labour Party, and I hope...
yes. Why hasn't the government built more houses?
What?
Why hasn't the government built more houses?
More houses? The government haven't built more houses because, the reason is, numerically, in terms of numbers, they haven't built more houses. The simple reason is that... I just remember they built lots of houses, 2 million in the first 5 years.
Is that more than the Conservatives built?
Probably. Very likely. I should think that 2 million might very well be, in all probability, don't you? Hello again. In the first 5 years, Labour completed over 400,000 more houses than the Tories built in their last 5 years.
What, each year or altogether?
80,000 per year. Labour has built 5 houses for every 4 built by the Tories.
Yes, but that's private houses, isn't it?
What?
That's private houses. What about council houses?
Ian, you've got to know the facts. the Labour Party had an enormous number of achievements in the social field, the greatest number of any government in our history. But this record was not given fair coverage in the press, and people just didn't know about it. And by people, I include you. You could have found all these facts in the Dictionary of Achievements and many other booklets from Transport House. Now, Anne did all her homework before she went canvassing, so let's see how she got on.
Yes.
Oh, good morning. Are you going to be voting Labour in the general election?
Am I going to be voting what?
Because the Labour government is cutting military expenditure by a third compared with the Tories. And they've reduced the number of troops overseas by 31,000. And not a single British soldier has been killed abroad since September 1967. And Labour has used the UN to enforce sanctions against Rhodesia. And what is more, they have refused to sell any arms to South Africa which could be used to support apartheid. Are you all right? Good morning. I hope you don't mind me asking you if by any chance you're going to vote Labour this time, because if you... because Labour has increased grants for the UN by £11 million. I say... I'm canvassing for the Labour Party. Did you know from October 1964 to October 1969, average earnings increased by 37.1%, cost of living up 22.9%, real increase 11.5% in standard of living.
Oh, that's absolutely fascinating. Could you tell us how we could get to your very wonderful Tower of Parliament where the late Mr. Shakespeare invented the Armada?
I mean, when it comes down to it, aren't Labour's ideals yours as well?
And you were talking to the wrong people. You have to identify everyone for the canvass card, but you shouldn't try to persuade everyone. It's not an efficient way of using our resources.
Well, who do I persuade then?
In each election, we have target groups. In the last general election, there were 4 main groups of people we had to get through to. First, the lazy Labour Party supporter. Second, there's the floater. He made a lot of difference in the last 3 general elections. Third, there's the new young voter. He doesn't know about the history of the Labour Party and the 13 wasted years, and he doesn't care either. He knows a lot's wrong with the world, and he's disillusioned with political parties. We've got to impress on him the difference between the Tories and Labour, and what a return to Tory marketplace philosophy means. And lastly, there's the young woman. In the 17 to 24 age group, she was and is especially important. The Labour Party is still not getting through to her at all. She cares most about housing, cost of living, taxation and education. These are the 4 groups Anne must spend her time and energy on. We must never waste our time on these, or these, or even him. Anne learned these lessons and tried again.
I'm not interested, I'm voting Tory, and that's that.
Thank you very much. 10 seconds.
Now, let's see what happened to Ken. Ken knew his facts, and he knew the 4 groups to concentrate on.
Do you want me? Oh, yes, I'm canvassing on behalf of your local Labour Party.
Well, I'm not voting Labour. I mean, they made a mess of the economy, haven't they?
Well, based on current figures for the last 3 quarters, when seasonally adjusted, of course, and excluding invisible earnings, the balance of payments, even allowing for repayment of short-term IMF loans, is now running into surplus, despite a mild world recession in trade owing to tight money policy. Excuse me, madam. Good morning. I'd like to tell you a few facts about housing. Did you know that this year, government expenditure in the public sector was 64.7% greater than in the last year of the Tory government? And that the number of houses built to the full Parker Norris specifications has increased by 14% since 19... Good morning, madam. The NEDC, the CBI and the TUC have asked the PIB if the SET can be...
Ken, you knew your stuff and were talking to the right people, but you're using jargon.
What do you mean, jargon?
It's a special language politicians use which nobody understands. Look at this chap.
Never before, and perhaps never again, at such a time as this, a time of ferment, of tension, even, shall I say, and I do not say this lightly, painful though it may be to every man, woman, and child, as it is today. But what's he on about, you'll say? Well, I'll tell you what I'm on about, and I have the figures to bear me out. In Britain, today, in 1966, 20% of the population, or to put it another way, 5 in every 100, or to look at it in more simple terms, 2.4 in every 44.7 as against 3%, or 300 in every 30,000, or 0.0003% of the entire population of the United Kingdom at the same period from 1945 until the present day. And what other party can make that claim?
That's the sort of jargon that has alienated a lot of people from politics, Ken, and you mustn't use it. You must talk to them in your own words, simple, direct. Beware of all jargon. Even phrases like balance of payments or earnings-related pensions are confusing to a very large number of people. So keep it simple.
And what's more, Labour has spent more than twice as much as the Tories did on building schools. And they've nearly doubled the number of school places each year, as well as the number of teachers in training and the number of students receiving a higher education, as well as more than doubling the amount spent on student grants each year.
Anne was talking to the right people, but she was talking to them about the wrong subjects. He was the one who wanted to hear about college places and grants. He wanted to know about pensions, cost of living, and health provision. She wanted to know about cost of living, taxation, housing, and schools. Anne had to learn to tell the right people about the right things.
Since the Labour government come to power, the number of health centres has increased from 21 to 150. Now, let me tell you a little about the Venison Act of 1968.
Be sure you know your target audience, that you talk to the right people about the right things in the right way. How to talk to them. Talk about what they want to hear about. Avoid jargon. Support basic publicity. Where? Pubs, cricket clubs, football clubs, evening classes, parties. Try to get a discussion going wherever you get into a group.
Why do it on doors at all if you can do it in pubs and clubs? I mean, doorstep canvassing is very hard work.
Because, Ken, there's one vital job that can't be done anywhere except on the doorstep. And that's the hard slog of identifying which people in any street are Labour supporters and marking it on the canvas card so that we can help to knock them up on election day and get those votes in the ballot box. This can only be done on the doorstep. There are 3 columns: for Labour, doubtful, and against Labour. On the right, there's some vital extra information you may have to find out. Is there a postal vote required? If so, write PVR. If car is needed, write C on the right. Will the person work for the party? If so, write W. Then there's more information needed of a person who's moved out of the street or into the street. If they moved out, try to find their new address. If they've moved into the street, try to find their old address. Remember then, what to talk about, who to talk to, how to talk to them, where to talk with them, and on the doorstep, the canvas card.
The thing that really came home to me was the need to identify our Labour voters on the canvas card and not seek to persuade everyone. We're short very often of people, money, and certainly time from voluntary workers. We must therefore use every second to our best ability. We can't trust to luck to win general elections. We trust to scientific canvassing, identify them onto the canvas card, ready for the big day, then knock up and do that, and we shall win.